Hey, this is the Way of the Righteous coming at you with another message. Somebody needs to hear this on today. I don't know who you are, but it keeps, those things that just keeps coming up in the atmosphere, during the conversation as you strolling on Facebook, social media, those things that just keep coming up. Those are the things we need to grab hold on to and pull it down and examine it in the light of the Lord. I want you to know today that if you have made the decision, if you've already made the decision to live in the kingdom of God, then everything that you do from that moment forward is done with compassion. Every time you go to speak to someone, every time you go to help someone, it must be done with compassion. Compassion becomes the force behind the love, the force behind kindness, the force behind everything that you do. If you don't, then you will fall into the trap that many of us fall into. Many of the ones who have come before us, before the remnant, the self-righteous. See, that self-righteous has to be dealt with, or we'll fall into the same traps. There's this saying that talks about going, watching, using the history so that we don't repeat ourselves. We've been repeating this pattern since the Pharisees. The same pattern that we get into God and we get to know him better, and then we remove God from the equation and it becomes all about I. We become selfish in the spirit, and now it's the I ministry. I am the one that God is using. I am the one who has this ministry. The I. This is the trap of the self-righteous. I just want to remind somebody today that every time you do something, no matter what it is, examine it. What's your motive? What is your motive? If your motive is to move in compassion, and I'm not talking about intellectual. See, this is another trap. Intellectually, we know we're supposed to love one another. We know the great commission of what we're supposed to do. But see, Jesus never moved unless he moved in compassion. When they called on him to go and pull Lazarus out of, because Lazarus had died, he didn't just jump and go because, hey, God has called me to do a thing. No, he moved when he saw the cry of the sister Mary, who said, if you was here, Jesus, if you was here, he would still be alive. And it was that compassion for her tears, for that moment. I had to write it down. Compassion, it says, it's pity. It's a sympathetic pity or concern for another. It was in that moment because Jesus already knew that he was just asleep. Jesus already knew that he was just asleep. But God orchestrated those moments together where he would meet with her and draw off of her compassion for her brother, her compassion for what she believed Jesus could do. Her faith in him being there became the energy to bring him out of death. Let that be the energy, the force behind you calling demons out of people, from you going to people and telling them about the great mercies of God, not judgment, not indifference, because there's a lot of us out here who are cold-hearted. I have someone who's who again, I would never speak any ill will about, so I'm speaking on actions and behaviors, so that we use those things to grow in God. And I used to ask God, well, why would you allow this to happen? So that he gave me an example of what not to do. I know people personally who had this compassion, who had this, in the beginning of their ministry, their whole zeal was to go out there and win souls. And somewhere in the middle, they lost the fire. It became about them. It became about them. In the beginning, it didn't matter what time, what the inconvenience was. They were out to save souls. Somebody's lost. Let's go get them. And then it became about what they need to schedule a time. They need to, I need to do this. I'm not saying not using wisdom, but you get my point. Don't lose the vision. Don't lose the reason. The reason behind it is because God saved you. It's because God delivered you. But the force, the energy in which we go into other people's lives, in which we proceed with the Great Commission, is compassion. Compassion for you knowing where they are and where they came from. And you knowing that there's a better way. Not judgment. Not judgment. This time for self-righteousness. This time for being selfish in the spirits. This time for being greater than everyone else is over. The wind is coming, and the wicked, even the ones in the house, even the ones who are claiming their name, even the ones who are casting out the demons and prophesying, y'all will be accountable. Check yourself. Die daily.